it was something I read where you talked about your people from Mount Vernon saying that, you know, like they've done like 40 years in the penitentiary together.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, and, you know, incarceration rates in America has been a problem, especially as opposed to minorities. And Roman delves into the issues around the legal system. Do you think we've made any headway in the
I
legal
think it's more important to make headway in our own house. By the time the system comes into play, the damage is done. They're not locking up 7-year-olds.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I was in Chicago a couple of 3-4 weeks ago, and we saw these little kids on bikes with masks on the side of their head, like 5 or 6 of them. And the driver said, yeah, they're little yummies. I said, who? He said, little yummies. Look up, Google Lil Yummy. Lil Yummy was an 11-year-old murderer.
Wow.
And you look at his picture, you'll see the headshot of him, and he's like this. And he got murdered at 11 by a 14-year-old.
Wow.
Who's doing life now, and a 16-year-old.
That makes no sense.
You blame the system? Where was his father? Yeah. It starts in the house. It starts in the home.
And yet you said you never considered yourself a feminist. Why is that? And do you get the same kind of pushback in saying that I do? Because I've said the same.
I get pushback. You have to listen to it. You're younger. I don't listen to it because I'm older. Because when I was growing up and going to school and being a lawyer and trying to become a judge and becoming a judge and then becoming a supervising judge, I didn't do it through any organization. And I think it takes away from your own self-worth if you say, I did it based on the work of a larger group.
Charles Barkley was involved. You mentioned Ferguson earlier. He was involved in the Ferguson debate, and he made comments that caused some uproar in the black community. Real quick, this is what Barkley said.
Okay.
We as black people, we got a lot of crooks. We can't just wait until something like this happens. And we have to look ourselves in the mirror. There's a reason they racially profile us at times. Sometimes it's wrong, but sometimes it's right. So to act and sit there and act like we hold no responsibility for some of this stuff, it's disingenuous.
I know you got to run, but what did you make of Barkley's comments?
I echo his sentiments exactly. We need to look in our mirror ourselves, stop waiting on someone to come march on our behalf, take ownership in ourselves, make our community better, stop looking for a handout, do something about it yourself that you can control, all right, and stop using the excuse about race, all right? I am sick and tired that every time you turn around, that's what we dangle. Everybody can dangle. Last but not least, race goes both ways. It really goes both ways.
So when you saw something like Ferguson, did you think this wasn't about race when that kid got shot?
No, we don't know all the facts. When I saw that, everybody was at fault. My heart goes out to the family. But let me tell you something. Our first responders have a hell of a job to do. They have families as well. But I think this right here, our problem now is we do so much talking and beating things to death. Let's take ownership in ourselves. What can we do? What can we do as a society? What can we do as African Americans? And stop waiting on someone to come in and march for us. You know, be your person and own up to what you need to do and handle your business. And I think it'd be better. But I have nothing wrong with what Charles says because I believe him as well.
Marcus, it must have been a difficult decision to let them make a movie. How close is it to what happened?
I would say it's as close as you could possibly get without having to have killed some of these guys up on the mountain filming it. The most important thing is whether or not the family members of the fallen appreciated what they saw in the film.
What do they think?
From my understanding, everything was positive, and that's all you can ask for.
One of the big questions that I have as somebody who covers the war in Afghanistan, do the American people want to hear these stories? They're incredibly powerful. This movie is very, very compelling. Do they want to know about it?
Well, they should know about it. They need to know about it, and it's my job to get as many people into the theaters to see it as possible. I've never felt more strongly about something that I've been a part of. I've never been more proud to be a part of a project like this. It's the first time that I've made a movie that was never about me. as an actor, my performance, it was always about telling their story.
You're a devout Catholic. How important is a role does your faith play when it comes to picking parts?
I try to be as open as possible in the kind of roles that I consider, because I don't want to limit myself as an actor. I have made some roles that I think would be questionable, certainly to my parish priest and some other people, but I hope God's a movie fan. I don't want to explain Boogie Nights at the right time.
Emotions I felt while watching the film is, first of all, just the hopelessness of the situation, how horrific it was, and also just all that loss of life of these brave American men. And I was torn about the message of the film in the same way that I think I am about the war in Afghanistan itself. I don't want any more senseless American death, and at the same time I know that there are bad people there and good people who need help. Was that intentional?
Well, I don't know what part of the film you were watching, but hopelessness never really came into it. I mean, where did you see that? Because there was never at a point where just felt like we were hopelessly lost or anything like that. We never gave up. I never felt like that we were losing until we were actually dead. I mean, that never came across, and in the battle and while we were fighting on the mountain, and it was just us against them.
Forget hopelessness, just the sense of all these wonderful people who died. It seemed senseless. I don't mean to disrespect in any way, but it seemed senseless. All these wonderful people who were killed for an op that went wrong.
We spend our whole lives trained to defend this country, and then we were sent over there by this country. So you're telling me that because we were over there doing what we were told by our country that it was senseless and they died for nothing?
No, I'm not saying that at all.
That's what you said. So let me just say that, yeah, it went bad for us over there, but that was our job. That's what we did. We didn't complain about it. We went out there and did what we did best, and at the end of it, we weren't standing. They were. We were lucky. I was lucky. And the rest of the guys, we fought as hard as we possibly could and never felt sorry for ourselves while we were out there. This was the job. We were going after a high value target, and it just got switched on us.
Maybe it's just the difference between what a civilian feels when he watches this versus what a soldier does.
Absolutely.
I mean,
I completely agree. But I don't think his opinion is never going to change. That's his job. He feels.
I respect it.
Oh, I understand. The more time I spend with Marcus, the more I really start to understand who they are and what they do for us, and it's pretty amazing.
Now, it's nice to have it's like having a large family. Family being a safety net for you. It's nice to have a safety net. But if you don't have your own self-worth and forge forward yourself, that safety net, all it can do is give you the bottom. You have to push it through yourself. And I think that that's what makes me say I'm really not a feminist, I'm an individualist. I think that individuals each have within themselves the capacity to be the hero of their own story. It doesn't always have to be a star of a television program to be the hero of your own story. You want to be a doctor, a lawyer, an Indian chief, whatever you want to be, you can be the best at it, be the most recognized in that profession or vocation. That makes you the hero of your story.
That's right. You can be a burger flipper and be the best darn burger flipper they've ever seen.
Be a great family person, be a great parent, be a great child, be a great citizen, be a great volunteer. That can make you a hero.
I'd give up my gun when everybody else does.
And doesn't
that make sense?
Well,
doesn't that make sense? I mean, if there were guns here, would you want to be the only person without one?
So do you carry guns routinely at home? I mean, you have a gun at home?
Yeah, it's legal in the United States. It's part of our Constitution. The right to bear arms is because that's the last form of defense against tyranny. Not to hunt. It's to protect yourself from the police.
And do you see any link between that and these sorts of incidents?
No. Nah, not really. You know what I'm saying? If somebody wants to kill people, they don't need a gun to do it.
Makes it easier though, doesn't it?
Not really. You can use you can strap explosives on your body. They do that all the time.
So when there's the inevitable backlash of the anti-gun lobby as a result of this incident, as there always is.
Well, that's